Since we've had close fights for the lead of the championship in both classes, but this landmark year following the series rebranding has brought thrills and spills throughout the 8 rounds preceding today's bout at one of the newest tracks in iRacing, Misano. Will the drivers be able to learn to manage multiclass here quickly? And will the championship hopefuls be able to keep their cars clean and grab some good points today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 9 of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Misano may be a new track to iRacing, but this 23-year-old track has seen its fair share of racing on the world stage. To find out more, let's go down to our track guide.
Welcome to Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. With the track situated just a couple kilometers away from the Adriatic Sea, this beach town venue is nestled into one of the most beautiful settings. Here on iRacing, it comes with 5 layouts that range between only 6 turns over a single kilometer to the Grand Prix circuit, which covers over 4 kilometers and 16 turns. A plethora of open-wheel, GT, and touring car series visit to compete, but its real claim to fame has mainly been motorcycles. Regardless, it's well suited to 4 wheels and truly keeps drivers on their toes. The sweeping Quercia invites drivers to try a pass, but it allows more speed through the corner than you'd anticipate. And Tramonto brings its own struggles. A kinked entry makes it difficult to nail, and yet the exit is perhaps more important. It leads you onto the incredibly long back portion of the track. I'd call it a straight, but you fly from Curvone and keep your foot down all the way through 12 until finally turn 13 scares you into slowing down. And you'll definitely want to, because the hairpin of Caro comes up fast. Having been around since the early 70s, the track has been reconfigured multiple times. In fact, it's even changed direction and gone from counterclockwise to its current clockwise configuration. Whether you're a beachgoer who needs their fix of speed or a race fan that wants a seaside vacation with their race day, Misano is a track that won't disappoint.
Well, there we saw a bunch of cars driving around this track, Craig, but man, I wish we had some motorcycles to show around here.
Wouldn't it just be good, Adam? Because this is known mostly as a MotoGP track, and Misano has featured a lot of other forms of racing in its 52 years, with only minor changes to the layout throughout the years. It features some technical corners that will test all the drivers. For the GTPs, they will be a little bit caught out here in some of the corners. Now, while there are some high-speed straights that lead into some flowing corners, the slight elevation changes at Quercia and Curvone will try and take the ground effect aero away from the cars that will cause the Nissans to upset. And another issue will be the hard braking to some of these corners, which will heat up those rears and result in drivers needing to control the throttle so they don't spin the rears up on exit. Now, for the GTOs, it's all about momentum. Modern-day GTs here, they're able to tackle this track with a lot of confidence, and the same can be said for the old Audi. The twist and the turns at the corners like Rio and Caro, they'll give the Audi some flowing sections, but will also require some steadily left foot braking into these corners, and well as navigating the clutch when downshifting. Both cars will have to avoid the anti-cut curves on the track, which will bring a new factor to multiclass. This is the new track, and it's an into the unknown once again for these drivers. They will utilize the high-speed straights to get the overtakes done on the Audis. But corners like Caro narrowing up, late overtakes and mid-corner overtakes that we see so often, Adam, they'll be a no-no. So look for most of those overtakes in any class to be taking place at Tramonto, the hairpin as you see there. Adam, we get to show off a new track again. There's lots of time to be found out there. Even with a week of practice, these drivers still have new things to discover around here.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to multi-class here. But in each individual class, there's a championship going on, and at the lead of our current GTP champion is Dustin Heroder, who got a really good race out last week, finishing in 4th position down there with 18 points to his name, bopped himself over the absent Alexander Van de Sant. Aitor Sintes Galindo down there in 3rd position did not have a good race last time out and lost a large amount of points to Heroder and also Van de Sant, even though Van de Sant was not there last week. Fabian Ingluth, though, very tight in behind Sintes Galindo, only 1 point back. And then Audrius Valenteus still within reach of the championship if he can get some more consistency under his belt as well. Brendan Lim down there in 6th, duking it out with Javier Del Olmo, Seamus Power, Martin Krajcik, and then Raul Roches Guardia rounds out your top 10 in the GTPs. But what about the GTOs, Craig?
Well, GTOs just as close. Look how close it is between Mickey Friesen, Johan Van Hixie, and even Andreas Salumba. They have been battling tooth and nail this season, and Van Hixie got the upper hand last week, but interesting to point out, not only one of those drivers has a win this season, and it's Van Hixie. Then you've got the other drivers still battling it out there. Valenteus there as well in 6th place. We know he likes to drive either car. He is in the GTO today, so it'll be interesting to see where he pulls a timeout and where he will finish this week. But again, once again, as we always talk about, the bottom of that top 10, all so close. You've got Cloud from Bello, you've got Fulton Pollock just there on the outside looking as well in 11th, and Josh Bray and Arturas Candelas trying to run away as fast as they can.
Absolutely, and now we get to our race details. A classic 40-minute sprint for this class, for this series this time out. It's going to be open setups for round 9 of 12 here, and so they can set up the car however they like or dislike today. They have no spare vehicle, but there's plenty of runoff, and the walls aren't super close around here, so I wouldn't expect anyone to have too much damage during this race, but of course, we can all be surprised. But if you do end up getting off tracks, which can be plentiful around here, the drive-through penalty is at 17 incidents, and you get disqualified at 25, so the drivers have to be fairly careful of that, Craig.
Yeah, gotta be very careful, and you do have a lot of runoff around here, as you can see. There's the green asphalt. That is actually part of the runoff rules. So you can run a lot of the curbing here, as you see on board right now. You just start to see able to just cut in a little bit. It does change the complexion of this track when you've got corners like that, but there you just see a raised curb there. At later corners, there is some anti-cut curbing there, so you have to be careful there, but just look how much space they've got on these corners to really open it up.
We're in qualifying right now. Alexander Van der Sant has provisional pole over Brendan Lim right now by 0.8 of a second. So Van der Sant with a very quick time right now. Mickey Friesen has provisional pole over Noel Lundberg at the moment. Friesen on a good lap for the GTOs as well. But qualifying laps around here don't take a lot of time. A 120 flat for the GTPs and a 134.7. That's a 15-second delta, Craig, for the GTOs.
Yes, it's a big delta, and it doesn't really feel like it. And I think we're going to see a lot of those differences out there today. Javier Del Olmo will be coming across the line. That looks very wide. I'd be surprised if that isn't an off-track there as he's looking to get some time. It is an off-track, yeah. It's so much flowing corners here that does allow it, and you'd be surprised for a motorbike track. Usually you think they're a little bit narrower. There's so much space for them to make moves here. Just look how wide that start-finish line is.
And it's worth mentioning that the official line from iRacing on how the track is defined is that off-tracks occur when the center of all 4 wheels are on the green painted asphalt. So I'm guessing that's the center of your car. So likely that they can run onto the curbing up until the point where the center of the car crosses that line. But there we see Dylan Freckleton, who has yet to set a lap time. One of 2 GTPs who haven't done so. Diego Barrero Hevia is the other GTP. And it looks like our leaders in the GTOs have just crossed the line. A fairly small field here today, Craig, but it looks like it's going to be a majority GTO for probably the first time this season.
Yeah, we've actually outnumbered the GTPs 2-1 as Freckleton comes across and puts a 123.8, and just look how he's going. It's very interesting to see how that's going to play havoc for that smaller field there. He does have time to do one more lap. It does give us a nice time. Rules, by the way, you were right about the center of the curve. It's the center of the fourth tire. So basically, it is the 4-tire rule on a lot of these corners here because of just the way it goes. So as you now start to see, speeding down that what is almost a back straight They'll get to Quasera very shortly. There's a little bit of elevation change there, Adam. I don't know if you just noticed that, and just going up, that can affect them a little bit.
Absolutely. So as we see Freckleton trying to set times, doesn't look like he's going to be able to finish this lap. Let's take a look. Yeah, so we're going to head directly to the grid then for us today, and that's going to be led out by the GTPs. The small GTP field today, Alexander Vandersen is going to start off on row 1 with Brendan Lim next to him on row 2. A good 0.8 of a second back. Aitor Sintes Galindo tucked in behind Alexander Vandersen with Javier Del Olmo, rather, tucked in behind Brendan Lim. Aaron Barta starts off on row 3 next to Dustin Roeder, and then Dylan Freckleton starts off next to Sami Juvenin, and then we've got Diego Barrero Hevia, the only GTP to not set a qualifying time out of the 9 GTPs here today.
Not used to being called on very quickly to the GTOs, but here they are with Noel Lundberg taking pole position with Mickey Friesen side by side with him in P2. Andreas Stillenberg will be 3rd, and then it will be Andreas Schuster in 4th. Then Doug Cloud's going to be 5th, and alongside him will be Alfonso Fernandez in 6th. Sam Skogard will take 7th with Timothy Reed in 8th, and then it's Josh Bray 9th and Cam Porter on page 1. And we do have another page, and it will be Roman Bello in 11th with Jamie Hamill-Smith in 12th. Michael Haynes will take 13th. Aston Johnson will be the last time qualifier in 14th. And then it's Audrius Valenteus, Forben Pollock, Bjorn Ackerman yet to make a time. Wouldn't be surprised to me if that number 1 car is trying to do a last to first once again, Adam.
Yeah, I think so. Seeing Audrius Valenteus down in the GTOs is a little bit of a surprise, but here we go, gridding up for the race. The Porsche pace car, rather, out there on track for these drivers. So, Craig, this track does not seem like one that will be friendly to the Audis. It's mostly flat. The GTP seems like a lot of them are running high wings out here today.
Yeah, we did notice that. A lot of them trying to utilize a lot of downforce just to get around some of those corners, because while you do start to slow some of those corners up when you go into them, getting on the throttle, they open up so well. Again, it's that MotoGP effect. You've got such a wide exit on some of these hairpin-like corners. You can get on the throttle really early. Think the hairpin at Canada, at Gilles Villeneuve, Adam, and how they've got a little extra bit runoff there of tarmac so you can get on the throttle earlier. That's what it's going to be like. So if you have less wing, you try to do that, the car's going to say no, and the rear's going to go the other way to your steering.
Looks like we got 80-degree air temp out there, Fahrenheit 108 Fahrenheit for track temp. That's 42 Celsius on track for these drivers. Looks like winds are variable but relatively calm out of the north, gusting anywhere from 0 to 5 miles per hour. Humidity's extremely low at only 19%, so that's going to be an interesting effect on the tires over the course of this race. Remember, no pit stops planned for this 40-minute race. It's a sprint from start to finish. And we have a small field here today, Craig, but the track's not that big either, and with the small lap times, I'd expect that traffic will be still an issue.
Yeah, again, this is into the unknown. These drivers, they probably have done a couple hot split races earlier this week to get an idea of what they want to be doing around here. But it is still, for some of these drivers, they don't get that time. They don't know what they're looking for. So they're going to have to utilize their know-how of what their car is doing to get an idea of what the other car in the multi-class battle is going to do. They want to try and make sure that they get on the throttle right, they take a line right, and remember, Audis, once they pick a line, they can't deviate. And there's some corners out there today, that's going to happen. Curva Misano, the last corner, that's going to happen. Here at the chicane, the Variante de Parco, if you look at the way that exit goes right there with the Page car, you can see that the Audis, they've only got one line there. The Nissans will have to respect that.
Absolutely. As the pace car is rolling now, we are getting ready to go green. It's going to be a full pace lap for these drivers today. Something interesting to note is that, as you said, the GTOs are a very strong field today. I'd say 15 out of the 17 drivers are highly competitive and will likely be battling up there for the win as long as an incident doesn't happen early on in lap 1. That's going to be a challenge for the GTPs to cut through the field, Craig.
Yeah, and this actually feels like a little bit of a slipstream track when you look at the two and a half straights here, and that usually just factors well on the sim for a lot of drivers, and especially with these drivers. Just look at this. Technically, there is a curve here, but I would call this a bit of a straight. That's not a prominent curve as you start to see. So this is going to be a straight where you're going to see a lot of people utilize the slipstream. And it would not surprise me if we don't see early race overtakes here at the front of the field, because they will probably have that pace. And unless they know Valenteus is coming as fast as he can behind them, they're going to have to just be patient, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's any moves. This is the man that is going to be looking to try and do that pack racing mentality. Cam Porter, we saw it last week in the Nordschleife. I reckon that's what he's looking for again.
Cam Porter looks like he's repping his new mod mic on the side of that headset right now. But yeah, I would expect, Craig, that we would see some passes into that relatively sweeping hairpin at the end of that first straight. Because sure, I think the Audis will be attempting to do some over-unders, but as we see the pace car, if this is another straight that we have going on, there is a kink in the middle of it, and especially for the Audis, that'll be a challenge. The GTPs, likely it won't be, as they're getting ready to go racing, but this is only the end of Sector 2. They're going to be entering Sector 3, and a very challenging exit onto the front straight.
Yeah, and this goes down into Caro, which I was talking about. A small dip there, a little bit of a camber inside, and then they got to slow it all the way down, and it is a hairpin, but just look how much speed they have to go, and then quickly into a left, and then another left, then final left will be covered Misano. They won't take it full speed here as the pace car will go off. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in 40 minutes.
Absolutely. So Alexander Van der Sant will lead them to the line in the GTPs, Noah Lundberg in the GTOs. The GTOs will go when the green flag drops, and so will the GTPs. Will Van der Sant go early? And he does. Immediately off of the final corner, catches Brendan Lim napping. Aitor Sintes Galindo is going to be alongside him. It's going to be a right-hander to start off the race, and Alexander Van der Sant in front, Brendan Lim, Aitor Sintes Galindo, and Aaron Barta in good positions.
We go to the GTOs. We just watched them go through there. The GTOs have not been a good start for Mickey Friesen, but he does have the inside line as we keep watching this. GTOs are going through nice and easy. Friesen side by side with Salumba. He got caught out with the way the start went because he was on the outside if they had to take cover. Misano at speed, and he's already down one position.
Beautiful start for both classes, clean in both classes all the way to the back of the field. The GTPs not doing it out with each other right now. It's mostly just line astern at the moment as they get settled into this race. Remember, the tires are going to be cold for the first 2 laps of this race. The GTOs is where the action is. Here's that first time down that long straight, Craig.
First time down that straight, and I think there are some drivers trying to just look for a move, but no one going for any moves at the moment. We do have one driver going wide. Josh Brain had a moment down there. It looks like I think he may just caught a little bit of the Astro, almost going 3 wide there with Valenteus and Bello. And Bello gets the better of Valenteus, and Josh Brain looks like he's going to get the better.
Absolutely, so good battle going on there. We have a battle for 5th position in the GTPs as well. Aaron Barta trying to hold off Javier Delomo. Justin Heroder got a little bit loose going through one of the corners, and that opened up an opportunity for Barta to try and pass him. But now Barta in contact, a little bit of moment there. No contact between Del Omo and Barta, but here comes Freckleton to try and take an opportunity. He's not going to be able to get that done, and it's going to be as you were going into the next corner.
Very tight out.
Oh, contact!
The moment. And a big one, and that almost looks like that Dylan was not prepared for a slowing car there in Javier Del Olmo, and that's not what you want to see. Thankfully, they'll get going before the GTOs come here. Salumba looking to make a move. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that, but it did look to me that the cars were just bottlenecking there a little bit, and if one bottlenecks, second and third car doesn't have time to react.
Aitor Sintes Galindo also overshot into the first hairpin, so unfortunately he's now fallen back. He was in second position, now he's fallen all the way back to 4th, just trying to get past Aaron Barta. Barta still trying to duke it out even after having the contact that he did. Barta with the better exit, but he's trying to give some room to Sintes Galindo. Sintes Galindo's got to take that room. Let's see whether or not he can hold it through the sweeper here.
Let's see if he's going to have to try and do this around the outside. It's going to be very tough for Sintes Galindo as they come down, but there's still that overlap. And I tell you what, he has managed to hold that down. They're going to go side by side and cover Del Caro. Now, can Aitor hold this on? It's going to be tough. There is still the overlap there, but the inside now belongs to Aitor Sintes Galindo. That is a fantastic move there, and he knows he needs to get that move done very quickly as he comes on by to start lap 3.
As we saw Doug Cloud getting past Alfonso Fernandez on screen there, Dustin Hiroto sets the fastest lap from the 3rd position, so Hiroto's been freed and is now out there trying to seek down Brendan Lim and Alexander Van der Sant. Van der Sant out to 1.6 seconds of a lead. In the GTOs, it's only 0.6 of a second between Lundberg and Sliumba. They've been close together all season long. Then it's 1.5 seconds back to Andreas Schuster.
I believe that's another. That's one of the GTPs just pulling off to the side or coming into the pit. I'm sure we're just
Dylan
seeing
Freckleton,
on board.
yes.
Yeah, Dylan Freckleton on board with Noel Lundberg right now on the wing camera. So that's the fastest lap of the race for the GTOs at the moment. And you start to see as we go on board with Salumba just how much steering they have to put in, just how much they have to wait. And of course, remember, even though they don't have the aero.
Andres Valentines is around. He made contact with Cam Porter going through the first sector.
Cam Porter, that's a very, very uncharacteristic mistake there. And Cam immediately on the radio saying sorry. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was a little bit there. Cam, if you go in just a little, he locked up. He locked up.
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately for Cam Porter and for Andreas Sliumba having to park it and make sure that he didn't move to make sure all the rest of the drivers could get around. But an unfortunate moment for Sliumba as he tries to get going once again, but he's going to have to do the back to front one more time.
Yeah, Valenteus now, he's down in 16th position, and he's got a lot of time to make up, but the car doesn't have can't really see a lot of damage on that car. He doesn't have any dirty air to battle with. He's in the clear air. Wouldn't be surprised if everyone just all bunched up in the moment. It may take him a few more laps than he wanted. I think he's going to get to the front. I wouldn't say the lead, but he's going to get to the front soon.
Yeah, flat sparks aren't a thing yet on iRacing, but the tires will be very hot for him, so he's got a lot of progress to make up. Up towards the front of the GTOs, Andreas Schuster trying to hold off Mickey Friesen for the 3rd position right now, and this is going back to start lap 3 for these drivers, or lap 4 rather for these drivers, and Friesen doing a good job of staying attached to these front 3.
And I love just how the driver is taking different ways into that corner. Look how tight Friesen is to set himself up through the next section into Rio. And you look at Schuster, he opened up there in the Valiente de Parco just to try and go more locking of the brakes. And that little move there, almost like the Licum you get at Spa, just sacrifice the exit of one corner, set yourself up. That worked pretty well for Mickey Friesen. He's not going to get the run here unless he goes for a late break, but it just comes way too quick there. Not a lot he can do at the moment, but more locking up from Andreas Schuster.
Yeah, now he's sliding very loose is Schuster. Schuster, not a good exit, is going to open the door to Friesen around the outside. Not usually a move that can be done, but did Schuster take it too deep into the corner? Almost did, was able to get it woed up. Friesen's going to take all of the runoff on both sides to try and get a good run down, out of that corner. And unfortunately for him, there's not much more that he can do at this point. They've got 2 right-hand kinks, both of them very challenging in the GTOs, and then it's down into a more sharp right-hand kink here, and then we get to the hairpin, and he'd have to take a really deep dive up the inside, but he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, this is not a car. You're not going to see that side-by-side like you saw earlier with Aitor Sintes Galindo making a move. These cars not going to be able to do it. I talked about Mickey Friesen using a lot. Well, at one stage he was not using a lot of the runoff. Then he's using all the runoff, and I think it's hindering him a little bit. Just watch again with these 2 cars. Look how much Schuster takes. Look how little Friesen takes as they go into the entry. They come out here at Parco, and just look at how wide Schuster goes compared to how narrow Friesen goes. That sets him up here down into Rio, the double right, but he cannot get it done at the straight.
Absolutely a challenging place to find where to pass around here for the GTOs just because of how much they struggle with their traction. But look at this. It's Timothy Reed trying to duke it out with Alfonso Fernandez for 6th.
Yeah, trying to do the same thing, and they've come onto the straight, just holding off at the moment, not looking to do anything too ferocious. And again, this corner, it is a hairpin, but with how tight it is, you're going to struggle to make a big send. And speaking of making sends, the GTPs are starting to go through the traffic. It's going to be interesting to see what time they lose, especially when you've got battles like this happening just about 5 seconds up the road.
Absolutely. Alexander Van der Sant has the fastest lap of the day in the lead of the race. He's currently 4.5 seconds ahead of Brendan Lim. Look at this, though. Timothy Reed with a good run. Can he do anything with it? The hardest place on the part of the track to pass. It doesn't look like he's going to have an opportunity here. The answer is no. He's going to have to find another way through, likely on the exit of the final corner into the first corner.
Yeah, it looks like that could be the way to go. Timothy Reed still looking. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he just waits a little bit, because I think he may have seen on a track map that there is some lap traffic, some GTPs coming, and looking at where they are, he may get lucky when they go down into the straight. There's one of them. There it is. There is Van der Sant. Maybe lucky. Van der Sant may catch them on the exit of Rio, and that may help some of these drivers like Timothy Reed just get an extra bit of slipstream and maybe look for a corner.
Absolutely. Alexander Van der Sant catching up to the back of Romain Bello now in 10th position. We're going to ride on board with Cam Porter as he's trying to duke it out right now with Timothy Reed. He's part of that group that's all tucked in behind Alfonso Fernandez. Fernandez kind of the cork in the bottle at this point in the race.
I wouldn't say he's too much of a cork in the bottle after Timothy Reed making a small mistake. Anything can happen.
Oh, sorry. We were having a battle up there for third position. Friesen and Schuster very close together right now. And Friesen was alongside Schuster just a moment ago. So Friesen really trying to make the move now. Here they go down into the third sector of this course with the 3 right-hand kinks. Can Friesen get anything done here?
Friesen looking to try and make a move into cover the Cato. Is he going to try and do it? No. And because of that kink there, it's so tough to even think about setting up for a late lunge on that corner. And that's a story with a lot of this track. Is it's so tough to do that you have to almost be side by side to consider it. Gonna have to just wait one more time. Traffic won't hit them right away. In fact, you'll just see in the background that was one GTP. Not gonna hinder right now. Here he goes. Can he make a move down the straight? He's getting closer. And again, look at the different lines here. I think he's gonna set himself up for the straight.
He's going to have to hope that that's going to work out for him. But Alexander Van der Sant, there is our leader in the GTPs, tucked in right behind them. He's still got a 5.5 second lead. He's gained another second over Brendan Lim just this lap alone. But look at that, a lock up there from Schuster is going to give an opportunity to Friesen, but there's nothing to do here in this sector of the race. But he's going to have to hope that Schuster is slow. Here comes Van der Sant. Van der Sant's going to streak by and give a little bit of a draft to Schuster.
Yeah, but he's overtaken him before the braking, so Friesen can't use that to his advantage. He's going to have to look. More smoke coming out. These drivers, they are struggling. Adam, since we started talking, it's 117 Fahrenheit now. That's 47 Celsius. The last time I saw a track this hot was when we were driving Interlagos in the day. I don't even think Bathurst got this hot. No, actually it did. But you get the idea. You don't drive on tracks like this normally at this temperature.
No, that's 7-degree increase Fahrenheit over when they started this race. And it's a struggle for all the drivers out there. Take a look at P2 in the GTPs. A very tight race between Brendan Lim and Dustin Hiroder as Dustin Hiroder goes way off track there. And here we see, still close together, Fernandez and Reed.
Yeah, Fernandez, Reed still battling together. Hot track means they got to be careful with that braking. With so many drivers smoking up there, locking the tires, that is just a case of just a track is too hot to have grip, and those tires are struggling for grip at the moment, and you start to see it. Will there be any more then? Just look how much they're having to hit those brakes. Look how hard they're having to go. They hit some of the traffic right now. Lim and Sinced Galindo right behind them. They're going to have to look for a move. Hiroder's going to try to look for a move. Free wide, it's not there.
He had to really slam on the brakes to not get into the back of Lim. Managed to do so, but this is going to compromise his exit onto the back straightaway. So unfortunately for Hiroder, no opportunities here. But does that open up a door for Friesen? Friesen's looking at a move. Can he get it done? The answer is no.
It's too narrow. It's too narrow, and it just wides up. But look at the inside line and the lock of the brake there from Schuster. Looks like he's going to make this done. We're on board with Hiroder. He's in his little battle. I can report that Schuster did not make that move. Hiroder battling at the moment with Brendan Lim. These guys have been a little bit dicey through traffic. Brendan Lim has put up an apology at one stage. That move we saw when we were looking at Schuster and Friesen. But as you see the speed difference, Adam, that just says everything with these cars. That wasn't a lunge. That was just the closing distance.
Absolutely. A 15-second delta between the two classes. And so the speed difference over 30 miles an hour on the straightaway. That is, imagine you're standing still at a crosswalk and a car goes by in a suburban neighborhood. That's the speed difference.
Oh man, I was just imagining just the car just zooming past you when you're just standing still, but that's a really good analogy right here. And you start to see more they go through. They do have, I want to just say, no more traffic. They've got no more traffic anymore. They're going to be fighting this now. The dirty air for Hirota is not going to be helping him through these slower corners. Just look how slow and how quickly they have to slow that car down just to get through some of those corners. It is not going to feel comfortable with the aero. It is not going to feel comfortable with the tires there. And that is a lot of management here. I think this is going to be more tire management than they were expecting to have today.
A little bit of a moment there from Brendan Lim going off track, but he's still able to maintain the speed. I want to give an update on Andreas Valenteus, the number 1 car, currently in 11th position in the GTOs, now part of this draft train that's all tucked in behind Alfonso Fernandez. But Andreas Valenteus has climbed his way back from that 15th position when he slid out and is now back up into 11th spot and making a move on Romain Bello. But a good progress for Valenteus at this stage in the race.
Yeah, Valenteus with a nice little recovery, as we say about that. Just off the camera, he makes that move on Romain Bello, and he's catching up. Hirota's still looking for this move. Not sure it's going to happen at the moment. When you got Valenteus, when you think about it, he is net P plus 5 on the day, even though he was at this position about, 10 minutes ago before everything happened. Just such a shame what happened, but it just goes to show how quickly things can change when you're a driver of the caliber of Valenteus. He had some fantastic battling earlier today in the 49s. I just wonder, is he going to find something similar today in the IMSA Vintage?
Interesting thought for sure, but we are seeing that it is challenging to pass around here unless you've got the raw pace of Valenteus. You could see just absolutely putting laps down right now, going very quickly. But most drivers really struggling to make passes on their competitors today. We've seen Dustin Hirota bottled up by Brendan Lim, Nicky Friesen bottled up by Andreas Schuster. The only one making progress forward at all today has been this car, Andreas Valenteus.
And now he's plus 6 for the day, and he's now looking at Cam Porter. And don't worry, there's not going to be any more fireworks after the mistake from Porter last time. Wouldn't be surprised if Porter doesn't even put up a fight here. Look at the speed. I would not even be surprised if Vantages had taken all the wing out of that car, because he is catching quick. And when I say quick, I don't mean slipstream quick, Adam. You know what I mean, is you're a veteran of this car. That looks a lot less wing compared to what Cam Porter's using.
Yeah, a little bit less wing, and I would expect also he's just able to get onto the throttle that, 10th of a second earlier than the rest of the drivers. That just comes down to experience and confidence. And that 10th of a second can mean 4 or 5, maybe 10 miles an hour down the straightaways, and that's all the change you need. On board with Valenteus as he's following Cam Porter. He's going to take a wide line through here to try and get a set up Cam Porter for an over-under and a late dive. Thinks better of it, instead swaps back to the outside. He's now going to follow him through. It looks like Alfonso Fernandez has lost that position to Timothy Reed up ahead. He gave that one up. You could just see that out the left side of Valenteus' car. But here we go back onto the front straight. Cam Porter with a decent exit of Valenteus. A much better shift into second gear is going to get him a good run down the straight, and Cam's going to give this one up.
And that was a lot of the talk early before the race, was if you can just get on that gear shift without many issues on that corner, it's going to save you a lot of time. And Valenteus almost with a perfect shift there just to get him on track now. And straight away, he's got Fernandez and Reed. He is in the slipstream of those two already. And they've still got another 2 laps, I would say, before they hit GTP traffic. So it just goes to show that at the moment they can just hold on.
Andreas Schuster goes wide in the battle with Mickey Friesen, opening the door for Friesen on the outside through these corners. Schuster looks like he's burning up his stuff, Craig. He does not look comfortable in that car right now.
No, a lot of lockups, lots of smoke. We saw this at Sonoma as well earlier this season. Just what was left of the tire was not a lot, and at the end of the race, more smoke. And if you start to see a reoccurrence of the smoke, then you know that the case of the tires are starting to go. Are we going to see a move here? Friesen unable to look at anything there as they slow down, trying to just force him to an inside line and compromise an exit. Not going to happen. One more corner before they start their lap 12. And yeah, it's just not happening here. Wouldn't be surprised though, Friesen with a great run because of those fresher tires if he gets the run here.
Absolutely, he's going to look to the outside. He gets blocked off by Schuster. A little bit of a late block there, but I think that one's going to be okay. Schuster was making his way over to the racing line. Friesen just trying to force a mistake out of Schuster at this stage. Looks like Andres Valentez has gotten past Alfonso Fernandez for 7th position, so another position up for the number 1 car. But look at this. Very wide off of the corner for Schuster, forces Friesen to check up. Friesen looking very much more under control. He's got a good run off of that corner. Can he make a move into one of the hardest passing zones on this track? He's going to look to the outside. Schuster defending to the inside.
He's going to try and do this around the outside. Both cars are there. They get the call and nothing left. Friesen try to look for the over-under, but there is no view because of the pillar to see where is Schuster. He's going to have to do it all over again. I'll tell you what, for a split second, he may have had that, but the pressure is on, and they've got to think. Salumba is out. He's too far away. Forget about Lundberg. They've got to focus on behind. If they realize Valenteus is trying to catch up to Doug Cloud, then Friesen wants to try and make this move as fast as he can. He's going to look again right away as they start into Caro. Is he going to try and do that little bait that Valenteus does? No, he waits. But look how close he gets on, really putting the pressure. More lockups there from Andreas Schuster. And to quote a line I said earlier this season, somebody call the Vatican.
Absolutely. Here comes Friesen. Is he going to look up the inside here? No, he's not. He's going to try and set it up once again. He knows he's faster than Schuster through this section. Is that going to be enough? He's got the draft. He's coming alongside. He's going to take a look to the inside this time around. But look at that. Schuster takes a very wide and late braking maneuver. Schuster absolutely chucking it around this track. Man, it's such a challenge for these drivers. I can report that Alfonso Fernandez has made it back past Timothy. So that battle continues. I think Timothy Reed actually got a slowdown. He did for going off track.
Do you know what? I've been looking at Timothy Reed's times, and there's a lot of invalid laps which suggest that he's having to take a slowdown somewhere, and it wouldn't surprise. I don't know where he's picking that up, but it feels like end of the lap.
Here we go.
See this move. He's going to try once again. He's got the inside, and the respect has to be given by Schuster. And with how much space you can take, Friesen holds that inside.
Absolutely. Friesen on the inside, but it's going to swap to the outside here. Schuster's going to have the defensive line, but he takes the shallow line into the corner and locks it up. Friesen going to try and get a good run off of this one, but just nothing doing. The corner, the radius is just too wide. He couldn't get the over-under like he was hoping for. He's going to be tucked in behind Schuster. Now, here's where the difference is between Valenteus and Friesen. Friesen likes to get right up tucked in behind Schuster at this sector. Valenteus, we saw, was hanging back of Doug Cloud and trying to set up for a good run here at this section. And he was able to do that and get Doug Cloud to make a couple of mistakes. Friesen is tucked in too close through that sector, and it's causing... He's causing it so he's not able to get a run. He's going to look up the inside. Here we go. A move up the inside onto the front straightaway. He's going to give the room on the outside to Schuster. It's going to swap back to the inside, but we've seen Schuster succeed in this sector. Let's see whether or not Friesen can.
Compromised his exit there by trying to make the move at one of the tightest corners, but now he's got to try and hold this on the inside and then the outside, and he can't do it, and Schuster tries to fight this. Friesen still there. They're side by side as they come down into Rio, and surely they can't hold on to this. The outside is going to take such a wide line. Friesen can't hold it. Here is still an overlap though. What brilliant move. Can he hold it on the final left-hander before the straight? Yep, they're still side by side.
Shades of Sao Paulo last year, but look at this. Friesen's going to have to drop behind Schuster. He's going to try and do the over, going to try and swap out to the outside. You can see just how wide of a line he's taking and try and get a good run off of this corner. He powers down, but Schuster's just in the way. Nothing doing that time around, but that was an intense battle through Sector 1, one I didn't think was possible around here.
I didn't even think the move was on, but here's a move on a mistake from Schuster into Tramoto, and now Friesen has it. This is going to be interesting to see what Schuster decides to do. Now, he is the chaser and not the chase. Can he look for a move? Look at the slipstream difference. The cloud has come over. It's cooled down the track a little bit. We'll keep an eye on those temperatures, but this whole lap has just had a little bit of cooler track. Maybe that's been helping Schuster, or maybe that's been helping Friesen with the amount of lockups and overextending. Friesen's done. Schuster's done.
Absolutely. So Schuster tucked in behind Friesen now is going to try and have to do the same stuff that Friesen has been doing, but I think his tires are spent. He's been sliding around the track a lot, and you can see Friesen just running away with it right now. So Friesen already pulled the gap on Schuster, so tough stuff. I can report, though, Andres Valenteus is in 6th position as we see our leader in the GTPs come through. Valenteus is in 6th position, tucked in behind Doug Cloud. Honestly, Craig, I would not put it out of the realm of possibility that Valenteus could still win this race.
15 seconds, though, with 17 minutes left. And I'm looking at his lap times, and they're matching Lundberg. I don't think he's going to win. Podium? Definitely, we've got to consider a podium right here. He will have a shot here as he now gets on to...
P2. Sorry, P2 in the GTPs. Dustin Hiroder passed Brendan Lim because of the traffic. This is tucked in behind Cam Porter and that group that's still battling behind Valenteus and Fernandez and Reed. But Dustin Hiroder is able to get through, and he's going to take the inside away from Fernandez. So a good move, a good opportunistic move from Dustin Hiroder to get past Brendan Lim.
Yeah, did it in the tight section as well around Rio. I'm able to work on it, and now Hiroda getting a little bit held up. Sintez Galindo in there as well. This was a 4-car battle we were trying to keep tabs on as well as they go through 4-car battle in the GTOs. And now Hiroda going to try and speed away. Sintez Galindo's going to have to go around the outside to try and make that over Timothy Reed. I don't think he was anticipating having to take that line through the kink. Holds on to it, though.
Heitor Santos Galindo having to pay the piper back. He's going to have to take a slowdown after that one. That's why he's fallen back so far of this group. But he should be able to get that back and get going once again. In regards to Andres Valenteus, he's tucked in behind Doug Cloud. We've seen how much of a defender Doug Cloud has been over the course of this season. But I don't think he's going to have anything for him today. Andres Valenteus up to 5th position now, getting past Doug Cloud off screen, and they're actually going to go by him right now. This is that battle between Valenteus and Doug Cloud, and look at these GTPs try and cut their way through.
You know what? Doug Cloud was on the brakes on the straight. He realized that there was no point fighting him. It's not his battle with Valenteus. He's just going to let him through. And that's helped as well, though, because making that battle over has actually allowed Hiroda to get a little bit of an advantage over Lim. Because now look at, there is Lim, and there is Hiroda away of the slipstream. That little help for his own race with Doug Cloud. I think Dustin Hiroda may want to give him a pint or something after the race. Just a little thank you, because the traffic's worked in his favor.
There's a nice battle that's been brewing down in 10th position in the GTOs between Sam Skovsgaard, Josh Brain, and Romain Bello. These 3 drivers who are, I would say, in their sophomore phase of this series, where they're not brand new, but they also don't quite have their legs under them. This is about the farthest that I got in this series. But these drivers from 10th on back in the GTOs duking it out with each other and having a good time.
Oh, don't put yourself down like that, Adam. I'm sure you had some pace. Everyone's got to take their steps somehow as well, as we see Cam Porter trying to battle, and he's got Fernandez in front of him. And look at the battles behind with Skogard, Brain, and Bello, as we were just talking about. They're all tight. There are 2 battles here, but in theory, just one mistake from Porter, and it could turn into one battle here as we keep looking. Where can Porter make the move? He's having some good times against Fernandez. So hard to make a attacking move here. We've seen the attacking moves from Valenteus, but I think a lot of it is drivers realizing Valenteus just has the overspeed. There's no need to fight it going into this first chicane. These drivers, though, on similar setups, I don't think we're going to see that.
For context, for those who are curious, the last time that I raced in this series officially, it wasn't official. It was actually the Long Beach Invitational back when it was still a tech track. That was the last time that I took the race there, and I probably would have won it if I wouldn't have gotten into a lap 1 incident. But that being said, Cam Porter in a much better position over the course of these last couple seasons with true top 10, top split pace over the last couple of seasons, and he's been showing it. And trying to improve his iRating so he can get into that top split. No split today, but currently duking it out with Alfonso Fernandez.
Cam Porter is the epitome of what it is to be in a community like the IMSA Vintage, because they start, he wants to drive it, he tries to get better, he just keeps driving, he gets there. When I first started broadcasting this series, he was barely getting in the top split if there were 2 splits. So this is how it just shows the difference. And the same with drivers like Brendan Lim. He's come out of nowhere in the past few seasons as well, making moves and going through. Sam Skogard, I can report, has had an off. We'll have to look at that later on because we're keeping this battle on. Brendan Lim just trying to find some spaces. Sintez Galindo, once again, every time we see him, is going around the outside of somebody. Don't think that's going to help him to try and catch up to these 2.
Absolutely. So Heitor Santos Galindo just not quite understanding the way that this track is behaving in regards to the traffic. Brandon Lim right on the back of Dustin Herroder. Herroder made that move a while ago. We know how good Herroder is at passing. But what's interesting is that when you get in front of that other car, Craig, the mindset changes when you're running your own race. And sometimes some drivers are faster when they're chasing versus when they're on their own.
Guilty as charged. That's me. Sometimes you just prefer that little battle. A lot of it is you then don't have to worry about, am I taking the right line? Am I holding somebody up? Because you know you're not going to hold anybody up. You know your lines are going to be almost identical because you're following someone and you're just so on their bumper. But when you're leading that little pack, it is so tough because you have that implication and indication that you want to mirror watch, and that can be a little bit of a hindrance. So Herroder trying not to do the mirror watch here, but he has to respect that if he gets held up by some traffic light right now, Brendan Lim will have to look in. He's not at the moment, but he will very shortly. And I'll tell you somebody else who is very shortly on for an overtake. It's this man. It's Valenteus. He's about to go around the outside of Misano on Andreas Schuster.
Yeah, well, that was Schuster getting extremely loose through Misano. So unfortunately for Schuster, like I said, his stuff's pretty burnt up. So Valenteus says thank you very much, moves up to P4. And like you said, Craig, on for a podium today. He's only got 1.1 seconds up to Friesen. Who knows? He might be able to get Sliumba in the last 10 minutes of this race.
If he gets Sliumba, I might owe you a drink or something. I just can't see 7 seconds. Or 6 seconds even. Yeah, 7 seconds. I can't see him gaining 7 seconds over 10 minutes when you think that's less than 7 laps to go. I think it is exactly 7 laps. He would need to be lapping over a second faster.
Which he is right now, Craig. He is at the moment. So as long as he doesn't get held up by Friesen, he might have an opportunity.
As long as he doesn't get held up by Friesen. And Friesen's not going to be a Doug Cloud and not going to lift and let him by. Friesen's going to be fighting this because he realizes the situation. I can't see this happening. We do have some interesting moments happening elsewhere, though, in the battle of the field. I just saw that Josh Brain and Timothy Reed, just losing a couple positions. That 5-car battle has actually happened.
Absolutely. So Doug Cloud Alfonso Fernandez ahead of Cam Porter, ahead of Timothy Reed, ahead of Josh Brain. Timothy Reed losing those 2 positions to Fernandez and Cam Porter. Here is that battle on screen. It is that 4-car battle that we talked about. So this is going to be spicy for the rest of the race, most likely. 10 minutes left, and unless they get broken up by GTPs again, expect these 4 cars to be battling together.
Yeah, just looking, it's going to be touch and go. I think 2 laps they're going to see the GTP traffic again. But remember, with such a small field out here today, as you can see, we've only got 6 runners left in the GTP. I don't think it's going to be too much of a issue. We talk about how the GTP traffic can split up the GTOs. Can't see that today unless they have to try and slice their way through and make this like a piece of bread. But anything can happen. There's 9 minutes to go. You've just got to keep your eyes open. Keeping our eyes open as well in the Valenteus Friesen battle. And Brendan Lim is still on the back of Herroder as Timothy Reed almost found the rear of Cam Porter.
Just to report, Andres Valenteus was 1.3 seconds faster than Sliumba last time around. He's tucked in behind Friesen, so is losing time this lap, but expect him to get back going. There we see Valenteus on Friesen, searching himself for a P2, most likely, if he can get this move done on Friesen fairly quickly. But Valenteus has found something around here that the rest of the drivers haven't, and if I was another GTO driver, I'd be saving this replay and watching those lines from Valenteus.
I wouldn't be surprised if drivers actually do that. This is the guy I talked about on social media earlier today after seeing the 49 clip. This is the GOAT of historic racing on the sim. It's safe to say. You see any historic racing, this man, apart from the Proto GTs, this man is in it. And he is such a good standard. The idea that he went last to first, had a little bit of a hiccup, and then came back to here in P3, battling for P3, maybe P4, just says it. We talked about the different wing setting here. This is going to be a very tough battle, and in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Friesen just decides to let this go. He won't let this go advantageous. That's a hold-up, Adam. I did say.
Absolutely, it's happening. So it's likely that P2's off the cards for Valenteus unless he can get by very quickly. But look at this. He's going to tuck it into the inside of Friesen this time around. Friesen trying to battle it out, but a little bit of a door to Friesen saying, yeah, no thanks. And he's going to move on by and streak away into the distance.
Valenteus locked up. That's a rare mistake for Valenteus. He went and said sorry immediately on the radio. He was going for that. He knew the situation. He wants that. Now he's on an open look, but he has to respect Mickey Friesen. He has to respect the pace that Friesen has. He's one of the championship leaders for a reason. Just because you're plus 12 on the day, just because you're a former 9K driver who's now sitting just at the top of 8K, you've still got to give the respect to a guy like Friesen. And now they come to the straight. I think that might be all for Friesen. He has to look for a move here, but there's a kink here, Adam. He may have to lift.
Absolutely. So the question is Friesen going to serve it back? Usually the drivers in the series do not do that, but that doesn't mean anything. Alexander Van der Sant is in the pits. Alexander Van der Sant's had a wreck from the lead of the race. This was in the battle for 8th position. The GTOs. We're going to have to take a look at this. Van der Sant just mispredicted where Cam Porter was going to be. Cam wasn't even, he was just on his line. Watch this.
Yeah, but watch this and watch what Van der Sant did afterwards, and we've got to give that as well. He was a bit too fast and not realizing Cam was there. The GTP tried to go, and this is not what you want to do on a blind corner. Not what you want to do, and he realized it. And unfortunately, while the first incident was just one of those multi-class things, I hate to say it, that is not what you do on a racing track, even on a blind corner like that.
But now, this battle here between Hiroda and Lim has become the battle for the lead in the GTPs. What a change of events. Van der Sant was out to a 10-second lead, Greg, and it's gone now, and now Hiroda and Lim are battling for the lead as they catch traffic.
Yeah, and this is also going to throw into the idea Van der Sant may have been running at a pace that meant they would go another lap or a lap less. This could also change how many laps they do. Don't forget it. Wide goes Hiroda as Lim tries to squeeze his way through Robin Bello. Fulton Pollock's going to be like, hey, we're in the middle of a battle here. Lim goes very wide, taking the Sintez Galindo route there, and that gets him a slowdown. And now Sintez Galindo, there he is right behind.
But what's crazy is while we were watching this as well, Friesen got his way back past Valenteus. So a bunch of things happening all at once around here for the leads of these races. And Sintez Galindo is going to go around Brendan Lim just behind these drivers. What is happening?
You asked me what is happening. I think what happened with Valenteus had a slowdown. He had to give the position up to Friesen because he had to serve the slowdown. That may have been what happened there. So yeah, scratch that P2 idea out of the way for Valenteus. He's battling for the last podium spot. These guys are battling for the positions, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sintez Galindo gets that done on Brendan Lim. And now he wants to try and catch up to Hiroda, but these two have lost so much time with 4.5 minutes left. Oh, that was a quick slant there from Timothy.
And a move up the inside from Valenteus on Friesen. Carbon copy of what happened a couple of laps ago. Friesen is going to try and hang on to it on the inside, but Valenteus sweeping around the outside. And look at this on screen. We've got Heitor Sintez Galindo held up by some of the traffic. He's going to try and cut his way through, but Dustin Hiroda's up to a 2-second lead right now.
This is what Hiroda wants to see. He is absolutely loving this. There he is. He's already passed Cam Porter, the distinctive red and white Cam Porter. And there's the other drivers. And there is a bookmarking there. I do see there's one car. I believe that might be Josh Brain just behind him, or Timothy Reed, one of the other. That is going to help out Sintez Galindo. He's got a 1-second lead, but he gets held up again. Everything is going on right now. Nothing happening in the Valenteus Friesen battle with 3.5 minutes to go. This just went from 0 to 60 very quickly.
I think Hiroda's in pretty good condition. 3 minutes 30, like you said, and 2.7 seconds out front for Hiroda. And Hiroda, he's going to have more traffic over the next 2 laps. He's going to have to get through the drivers in the lead of the GTOs. So it's going to be, it's not free and clear for him. We take a look at Mickey Friesen, who's tucked in behind Valenteus. So Friesen falling behind Valenteus because of that move that Valenteus made coming onto the back straightaway. Just to report, Noah Lundberg is out to a 9-second lead over Andreas Sliumba, but that doesn't mean anything, as we just saw with Alexander Van der Sant.
I'm about to say, that doesn't say anything, and I just want to report, if Hiroda holds on to this, it would be his first victory on a broadcast, and that's going to be big for Hiroda if he can hold on to it. But this is the battle as well. Valenteus is starting to pull away from Friesen, and Friesen also has to respect Schuster, who may now, with the track starting to cool down a little bit, it's 111 Fahrenheit. he may be able just to see a little bit of life left in those tires. There he is. Might be a bit too much to ask, though.
And some may say of this win, if Hiroder gets it, that, oh, well, it was a small field, it was a new track, nobody showed up, there wasn't a split. Yeah, well, if you wanted to win, you should have showed up as well, because Dustin Hiroder taking the opportunity here to lead 2.7 seconds and climbing in this GTP field after our de facto leader of Alexander Van der Sant had an incident with traffic. That's what can happen here in the IMSA Vintage Series.
All I'm going to say is, I'm just looking as well, Brendan Lim doesn't have a victory either. So you've got to think the moment that they saw that toe there from Van der Sant, both of those guys were battling for a first victory. Sintez Galindo trying to play spoiler, but he is not as fast. And now, with a minute and a half left, they are going to do... Oh, is it going to be one more lap?
Yes, it will be.
This is going to be... Yeah.
It will be one more lap for these drivers, so Hiroder's going to have to go around another time. This is the penultimate lap, unless he gets majorly held up here, and he is getting held up by Valenteus. He streaks his way by. Now he's got the lapped GTO of Michael Haynes and then Ashton Johnson, both of them battling for position.
Yeah, no, they will have one more lap. He didn't take the white flag. He has to see the white flag, so this is going to be interesting. Valenteus getting held up as well. Yeah, Valenteus getting held up there by a lap car. That's going to be interesting to see. Sintez Galindo now on the slipstream of Hiroder. Brendan Lim getting held up as well. That's not what he wanted to see. He was trying to catch up to these two. He's out of it at the moment. Is there going to be a bookmarking with Ashton Johnson? No. Galindo is pushing for this. This is going to be a tight finish.
0.6 of a second between Sintez Galindo and Hiroder. That's going to be well within the draft for Sintez Galindo. We're right on board with him. He's going to be gaining as they go through these kinks. Even with the downforce that he's required to use here, he's going to be gaining. So slowly gaining down to 0.55, 0.5, and more. And look at this. Hiroder held up behind Sliumba, our second place driver. It is now a dead heat for the lead of the race in the GTPs, going on to the white flag lap.
They've got one last corner before they see the white flag. Who's going to get the better run? And it looks like it's Sintez Galindo, but no, just a small correction on the exit there, and that's not going to help him. They will see one more lap. 2 seconds, 1 second. There they go. This is going to be nip and tuck. Remember, if you go too far off, we've seen so many slowdowns today. That could be what does it. Galindo has to look at the dirty air here coming out of these last few corners before one of the first straights. He's got to make sure he doesn't get caught out.
You're not missing anything anywhere else. This is the best battle on track, and it's for the win of this race. The overall victor will be decided. Dustin Hiroder fighting for his first broadcast victory. Heitor Sintez Galindo, a multi-time victor and many-time podium placer in this series. He gets loose coming off of the corner. That's going to lose him some time to Hiroder. Hiroder just needs to keep it strong. They've got the leader of the GTOs just ahead of them, and Sintez Galindo goes wide. He goes very wide. He loses about a half second to Hiroder coming down the back straightaway.
Still got it though, but look at the traffic. No Lumberg is going to be another hold up here as they come down into cover. Decaro, he's going to be held up at the final moment. This is going to be a final last dance here.
Absolutely, so here we come. Noah Lundberg is going to be the final cork in the bottle, but it's not going to happen. Hiroder has a good opportunity here. Here they come into the final corner. Hiroder looks to the inside. It's going to be a photo finish for both of the leaders, but look at this. Sintez Galindo with a good run. Does he have enough? He's going to try and come out alongside, but no. Hiroder gets it done and wins here in the GTPs. Noah Lundberg comes home with the victory in the GTOs right behind him.
0.093 was the margin there for everyone. No Lumbo will get that P1 in the GTOs. The P2 will go to Salumba. Valenteus holds on 4 seconds. It was 3 seconds at one moment. Maybe what could have been there from Valenteus had he not had those moments.
What a race we just saw. Everything spiced up after Van der Sant had that unfortunate incident coming through after the long straightaway, but a very epic race from all of our GTO drivers and a very amazing pursuit from our GTP drivers who never gave up in the face of adversity. And Dustin Hiroder takes the opportunity, takes the win here today. My goodness. Well, don't go anywhere because we're going to have the very unofficial results as well as driver interviews after this break. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome back to the IMSA Vintage Series Round 9 here at Misano, and what an epic race we ended up having with Dustin Hiroder taking the win over Aitor Sentes Galindo for his first broadcast victory, at least that we are aware of. Aitor Sentes Galindo finishing 0.094 behind Dustin Hiroder. What a finish that was. Brendan Lim coming home 3 seconds back after duking it out with Hiroder all day. Just ended up getting caught up by traffic and then making a wide moment through the corner, which lost him the opportunity to chase down Sentes Galindo and Hiroder. Aaron Barta comes home in 4th position with Javier Del Olmo in a solid top 5 today. Alexander Vandersen, after wrecking out, finishes 6 laps back down in 6th position. And then we got Sammy Uvonen, Dylan Freckleton, and Diego Barrero Hevia, who also wrecked out today.
In the GTOs, Noel Lundberg went from lights to flag to take the victory, 10 seconds ahead of Andreas Salumba. And then it's Andreas Vanteus, who started from last, was to midfield, then fell back down, and then came back to 3rd. What could have been if he didn't have that mistake. Mickey Friesen will take 4th, and Andreas Schuster will be 5th, and then it's Doug Cloud in 6th. Alfonso Fernandez with a quiet 7th. Cam Porter makes up 2 places to 8th. Josh Brain will be 9th. Timothy Reed will be 10th. And as we get to the second page, Fulton Pollock will be 11th with Roman Bello in 12th. Jamie Hamill-Smith, the last of the drivers on the same lap, in 13th. Aston Johnson 14th, Michael Haynes 15th, and Bjorn Ackerman 16th, all 1 lap down. And Sam Skogard, the only retiree in the 17-car GTO field today.
Well, what a finish we had today, and it looks like we're going to be talking to Aitor Sentes Galindo right now, our 2nd place finisher in the GTPs. Aitor, so close, yet so far. 2nd position today. I bet throughout this race, you probably didn't expect that you were going to be in a position to battle for the lead.
Absolutely, yes. Just 1/10 too short. Frustrating, not only for that, because for the championship, because now Dustin got 3 points more than me. But well, I'm actually satisfied with the result itself. Just a shame about the last lap. Also, the mistake I had on I think the second lap. I tried to brake with the clutch pedal instead of the brake pedal, which could have been a disaster. But I missed Brendan. Fortunately, I think I hit it because I got the 0x, but. Yeah, frustrating for this, but good result for the finish and 1/10 too short for a win.
So I believe this is the first time we've gone to this track, and this is a very unique track when it comes to traffic management. It seems like there's a lot of different swapping of lines, and the GTOs are having to take as much room as they possibly can to make these turns work. How was it navigating through, especially this is our first double GTOs over GTPs that we've seen all season. How was it navigating the traffic?
I think it was today. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the lack of Senna for the Nissan, and it was like more GTOs than usual. But yeah, I mean, it was tricky, I would say, because they, for example, that one was an off track, and for example, lots of line they have to take it as usual. They have to take all the track, and usually you have to do is either predict that they're gonna do it or take an off track, and also in the slowdown actually. But I think this track is okay-ish for multiclass. The rest of the things I don't like it. I don't like the fact that you have to basically look for the off track to make a good timings here, time lapse. But yeah, I'm glad this is over actually, because I'm not very fan of this track, and yeah, I'm looking for next week.
So you are looking forward to Monza combined? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh no, Monza combined. No, we're gonna be draft packing the whole freaking 40 minutes. Oh no. Well,
Yeah, I was wondering whether that was the case, but Aitor, congratulations once again on 2nd position today, finishing just behind Dustin Hiroder. And is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
as usual, guys, thank you again for the mission broadcast and interviews. Family friends are watching. Yeah, see you guys Monza combined. Goodness.
That was Heitor Sitges Galindo finishing in second position today, and Craig King has caught up with Cam Porter, who finished in 8th in the GTOs today.
Ah, Cam. Every time we come to see you on the camera, you're getting tangled up with a GTP, not on purpose, of course. That looked a little bit unfortunate in the middle of that race with Van der Sant touching you. Just what happened there? Was it just him, just a little bit too much speed, or were you just held up by the traffic in front of you?
I'm not sure. I felt like I was driving my normal line. I did see him coming up behind in the mirror, but I felt like he wasn't really close enough to try to make a move. So I took my normal line, and he tagged my rear bumper and spun out. Sorry to see that ended his race. Not sure what happened. I didn't review the replay of that incident, but I will later. Yeah, he did apologize afterwards for the contact. So I think he said he misjudged the speed through there. So just an unfortunate thing today for sure.
Yeah, I'll spare you the time on the replay. Unfortunately, he was hit trying to rejoin the track. So the little tap with you didn't cause him to end his race. Unfortunately, it is just one of those things. That was one thing I did notice today. Not just to the fact that there were double the GTOs to the GTPs. How was the traffic? Because there was such a difference in speed through some of those corners. That corner with that incident as well. There's so much different. That has to be a little bit scary in these tin tops.
It is. I think there's difficult to put into words what I want to say, but obviously it is challenging. A lot of Nissans will try to maximize their amount of track and their speed and not lose any time, and they sometimes take chances and maybe misjudge where GTOs are going to go. Other than that, it's the same. It's the same story at every track, really. The Nissans are obviously a lot faster. The speed difference between the classes can sometimes cause conflicts, but chaos, I think, is part of what attracts a lot of the drivers to the series. The fact that it is a challenge and it is thrilling, and that's the appeal to this series, I think.
Yeah. So let's talk. We've gone for the bad. Let's talk for the good, because you had some fantastic battles out there today. You were +2 on the day as well. And every time we looked at you, there was always a pack. And in fact, on the replay that Robert just picked up here, you're in a pack. You're in a 4-car pack. Sometimes it was 3 cars. It was 2 cars. It looked like it was very good racing out there today, but it also looked like it was tough to make overtakes on this track. Is that true?
For me, I think I was really so close on pace with the other cars around me that it was nearly impossible to make a move. Especially with Alfonso, I followed him for many laps, and Tim also. Tim unfortunately kept giving himself slowdowns, I think. So that cost him some time. And Josh, as you can see on the replay at the end, there was catching me. So it could, if there was another 15 minutes, that could have been quite a battle. Although I do have to apologize to Adrius Valenteas. We were going side by side into the first chicane, and unfortunately there was some ghost contact that caused him to spin out. So apologies to that for that. But yeah, really thrilling race today. Happy with this result.
Yeah, and just before we let you go, we talked to Aitor Sitges Galindo. He wasn't looking forward to next week. It's going to be different for you because, yeah, look at the smile on his face. It's Monza combined with no chicanes. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a thrill ride for you, being that you've got to slow down a bit more instead of on those downforce cars. Are you looking forward to next week?
Absolutely. For a guy like me who's normally racing in mid-pack at a track where drafting is important, I have a better chance of doing well. But the way that my races have been going lately, I want to focus on safety. I feel like I always focus on safety, but something always happens to mess that up. I'm not saying I'm innocent. I make a lot of mistakes like everybody. Yeah, Monza should be a thriller.
Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. It is going to be a thrill race. We look forward to seeing that. We'll let you go for the evening or for the day. Cam Porter, have a great rest of your week. We love you. And that was Cam Porter in P8 today. And Adam, I believe you may have Brendan Lim with you.
That's right. Brendan Lim is joining us. Third position today on the day in the GTP. Brendan, it was a great race for you today. You were up there battling with Dustin Herroder for second position for a long time. When did you realize that Van der Sant was out? Brendan, do you got a copy?
Hello?
There he is. Hey, Brendan. How's it going? Oh, we just had him for a moment. And yeah, Brendan. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brendan. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we've got Brendan here today. I think we'll have to come back to him next time around, but that's going to do it for today. We want to give a big shout out to the IMSA Vintage series for bringing us out for another round today, and a big thank you to the team as well, Craig, Robert, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here of dogs barking on GSRC. Our next race, as we mentioned, it was Monza Combined. That's going to be next week. That's going to be May 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Also, be sure to check out our other broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. We hope you've enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing the racing to you, and we hope to see you back again next time. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.